Hey y'all, I just wanted to give you a quick tutorial of how to access everything in Canvas and also how you should be taking your notes on your pre-session worksheet, because I don't want you to have to do any more work than what I just need to see from you. So I'm just going to show you how you should be taking it so you don't do anything extra. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'm logged into my friend's Canvas so that I can access it from your point of view, but you will go into my Canvas page. And the first thing that should pop up on the home page are these modules. And I have everything completely organized in these modules for you. So this is really the easiest way to access everything, although all of the stuff is uploaded in other places on Canvas too. So you can go to Files to access the pre-session worksheet, but instead I recommend just go to Modules, everything's there. So first thing I'll do is download the pre-session worksheet. So we'll just use this first one. You probably want to download a copy so that you can fill it out as you watch the video. So, got that up and going. And then head back to modules and click on the link to the video lecture. So that is the very next thing in here. Now, I've noticed that sometimes when you open it through this link this way, it can like turn out a little blurry. So like this isn't super clear. So one way to avoid that is you can go ahead and just click here at the very top and it'll take you to the actual YouTube link. And then that should come in clearly. So what I would do is just split your screen, have the worksheet on one half and the video on the other half. And then I will just play this video out loud and take notes on this worksheet as I go, just for a minute or two so that you can see kind of what I'm looking for in terms of how much I want you to be typing and what sorts of things you should be typing. So I'm going to turn up the volume on this.
So the very first thing that we talk about in Intro Psych is Wilhelm Wundt, and he was a psychologist from Germany, and there's exactly two things that you need to know about him. Number one, you need to know that he was called the father of psychology, and the reason for that is because, this is the second thing you need to know, that he developed the very first psychological laboratory in all of psychological science. And then the book will go into kind of some specifics about the two first schools of psychology, structuralism and functionalism. One good thing about psychology is a lot of the names that we choose for things also describe what they believe or their purpose. And so structuralism focused on the structure of the mind, whereas functionalism focused on the function of the mind. But one thing that you definitely need to know is that introspection was a key practice of the school of structuralism, not functionalism. Introspection goes with structuralism. And introspection was really just this idea that a structuralist psychologist would ask you to describe your sensations doing any given thing. So they might have you close your eyes and smell a rose and describe how the smelling process feels to you or what thoughts it evokes in your mind. Or they would have you sit down and watch a sunset and try to describe your innermost experiences. That was the practice of introspection used in structuralism. Also, associate functionalism with this idea of adapting to your environment. That's often how we talk about it in test questions. The issue with introspection is that it's unreliable, subjective, immeasurable, inconsistent, and relies on your subject's ability to truthfully and correctly describe their experiences without being able to verify it. So really what that comes down to is, one person's experience of smelling a rose could be entirely different than another person's experience. That's what makes it unreliable, inconsistent. It's subjective, so it's dependent entirely upon your specific experiences, not the general experiences of others. You can't measure people's thoughts or experiences, and you're relying on the person who's reporting their thoughts and feelings to be able to do so both truthfully and accurately. So introspection it wasn't scientifically valid, which is why it failed. All right. So when it comes to these contemporary psychological approaches, I promise you'll have test questions.
Okay, so that is just a quick picture of like what kind of stuff I want you to write down. As you can see, it's really not a lot. I just want you to be taking notes as you go and listen to the video. And you can do it in bullet points, you can do it in sentences, whatever works for you. But hopefully you shouldn't have to do a lot of pausing and rewinding. Hopefully you'll be able to kind of do it as I'm speaking, but if you do need to pause it for a second to finish your thought, that's fine too, of course. And then, like I said, inside all of these videos, there's going to be little traps where I ask you to write down specific things in specific places. And this is really just how I check to make sure that you've watched the entire video all the way through, instead of just like copying stuff off PowerPoint slides and then submitting that. So as you do that, it would be so helpful to me if you would just highlight those things or like put them in a different color or something like that. So one of those examples is on this slide. So I'll show you what I mean here.
So next to cognitive psychology, write down mental processes / thoughts. Mental processes / thoughts. Anytime we're talking about cognitive psychology, we're talking about the inner workings of your brain, your thoughts, your feelings, the way your brain functions for memory, for things like this. Mental processes and thoughts. Cognitive neuroscience, we're going to be talking about specifically brain activity. You will see that word come up over and over in test questions if we're talking about cognitive neuroscience. So anytime you see brain activity, think neuroscience, brain activity. And then cognition is the first part of that, just like in cognitive psychology, thoughts, mental processes. Evolutionary psychology, look for the word evolution. That tends to be in the stem for a lot of these questions. And then also things like natural selection or anything sort of mentioning a Darwin type of principle is going to be something that will likely fall under evolutionary psychology. Also words like adapting are important. But yeah, evolution, natural selection are the two most common. So write those two down next to evolutionary psychology. And then with behavior genetics, we're looking at the contributions of genes and also the environment. So genes plus environment, or as you'll hear it called through the rest of the semester, the nature versus nurture debate. That's exactly what behavior genetics is focusing on. So genes / environment, also nature / nurture. Write those two concepts down.
So you get the idea. For these things where I'm like, write this down on your worksheet, those are those traps I was talking about. So they should be really easy to identify as long as you're watching the whole video. If you do, miss one but get the other 4 or something like that, I've tried to put 5 in every single video. I'll be able to get over you missing one or something like that. But yeah, that's how they should look. And then, let's just pretend that I have finished this whole worksheet. So I'll save it so that I can show you how to upload it. Let's put it in here. Okay. So then once you're finished with this, you go ahead and pop back into Canvas and either go to the home page or modules. It'll take you to the same place. And then here where it says turn in your pre-session worksheet is where you will click and be able to submit your assignment. I've set it to accept all file types. So if you want to, make this PDF or, some people have like iPads or tablets that maybe you want to fill it out by writing on that. Or if you are one of those people who wants to physically print out your worksheet and then write on it, that's fine too. Just take photos of that and put them all into one PDF for me, which you can do online or with like an app, I'm pretty sure. There's a few of those for that. So there's the worksheet, submit assignment. Boom, there you go. Nice confetti in there. And then, so that is worth half a point, as you can see. So I'll go through, look for those traps, make sure you have those written down, and I'll give you full credit as long as the worksheet is reasonably filled out and you have those 5 things written down. Hopefully highlighted. Please highlight them for me. It changes my life tremendously. But very good. So you'll submit that, and you have to submit it before the session starts. So you'll notice that the due date is the minute that the Zoom session starts, 7 p.m. on whatever date. So make sure you submit that, and then you can go back to modules and you can access my Zoom link just by clicking on this. It should take you to my Zoom link. And so you'll log in by 7 p.m. And once you log into the Zoom session, in the chat is where I will put the session worksheet for the Zoom session. And that is just to prevent people from logging on and just getting the worksheet and then leaving or something like that, or me just posting it publicly and them having access to it without actually doing any of this work. Because you're doing the work, you deserve to get the extra stuff, basically. But once you log in, do the Zoom session, you'll fill out the worksheet as you go. And as soon as we are done with that Zoom session, go ahead and turn in that Zoom worksheet as well. There's no extra work you have to do on it. If we don't finish the worksheet entirely, that's fine. Just turn it in where it's at. But we should finish them in session, for the most part. But I'm going to have to figure out how to budget time into 45-minute sessions instead of 90-minute sessions, which is what I was used to before we transitioned everything online. But anyway, so that is how that all works. Go ahead and feel free to send me an email or anything if you have any questions, just let me know. And other than that, thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you guys in session.